What's up, everybody? My name is Lex Veldhuis, and as most of you guys know, I think I signed with BBZ last month to help improve my game and take it to the next level. It's been really exciting so far. I've been creating content with Jordan. I'm going to create content with Crybaby as well, and lots of other stuff coming. But it's also good to get to know you guys a little bit better. So for some of you guys that don't know much about me yet, we thought it was cool to do a Q&A, and you guys sent in some nice questions, so let's get to it. All right, yo, Sam Riza is asking, hi Lex, I'm trying to work on mindset and not playing emotionally. I've become a lot better at it, but wondered if there was anything you do in particular to combat negative mentality when you're having a brutal session. Poker can be a nasty game when you're getting bad beat after bad beat. What can I be doing better? One thing that works really for me is find ways to be motivated to play poker. One of the best things you can do is study when you're in a downswing or when poker doesn't seem to go right, because that makes you more excited about something else than just the result of a hand. If you study and you apply new theories and new concepts and new strategies, you can actually get excited about actually playing a hand. I can tell that, like, me and Jordan do 2 sessions every Tuesday. On the Wednesday after, if I have a really big pot and it's a super interesting hand and I feel like I'm applying something that he just taught me, I don't even really look at the result of the hand. Sometimes I'll just think out loud about the hand and I just realize, oh shit, I just won a big pot and I'm on stream. So I think that studying is really good. Also, if you have a lot of issues like getting into a bad mindset and kind of snowballing that way, then working on mental game things like meditation is really good, because you can kind of stop that snowball effect at the start where you kind of feel yourself sliding into negativity. I play pretty emotionally too, but for me, it doesn't really mean that it doesn't have a bad effect on my will to play or on my game itself. So, but that's something that's kind of like, sort of like a situation I've honed over 17 years of playing. So I understand that it's not really nice to play when you're upset. So work on the mental game aspect and work on the poker strategy would be my 2 major points. Good luck with that. Next question from EH1414. Hey Lex, good luck with BBZ. Just wondered if you have any routines that you do before and after sessions, and what you do and what you tend to do on break in tournaments. It's kind of funny because it ties in with the last question. Before I start playing, I usually make sure like I have nothing on my desk that reminds me of other stuff that I have to do. If I have a to-do list of like some administrative work that I have to do, I make sure that's not in vision, because then it's kind of nagging at me in the back of my mind. I meditate early morning and right after a session to kind of like let go of, just all the thought process and everything, because poker is very exhausting, and playing poker on a high level can be super draining, because it just wears you down and you have to be sharp non-stop, right? Because that one lapse in concentration can mean that you lose a big pot or you make a big error. So for me, meditating right after works. I also work out before I play poker. And throughout the years, I've kind of played around with that, how is working out for me after a session. Didn't really do it for me. And it also meant that I started a session more sleepy. So, playing in the evening, I really disliked, because then I had like a whole afternoon where I was doing fun stuff, or I was kind of, getting lazy in a way, or not really having that full ability to turn it on during a session. So I think playing around with different stuff like that is really important to kind of discover your routine. The one thing that I'll tell you is that there's a lot more to poker than just sitting down and clicking a button. Preparedness is super important. So if you have some issues, or if you feel like you need some routines, just look into that stuff. Just look into meditation. One really good exercise that helped me is going over study notes. It gives you a really good sense of being prepared to read through all the stuff. So if you watch like a BBZ video and something stands out to you, make a note of it in a Google Doc or something. And before you start, read through all those points. And that'll give you a really good sense of being prepared, because you highlighted the stuff that you need to work on to yourself. And it's almost like already being ready for the grind without actually grinding yet. And that gives you a moment of really strong concentration from the first hand that you play. And it makes you feel on, right? And you don't need that warm up the first 30 minutes. You're like, oh shit, I'm in the small blind. What was that again? That can cause to kind of like feeling a bit out of it during a session. So I definitely suggest to do some warm up with strategy as well. Thanks. From Joe Jacobson Laws. Hi Lex, I know that you spent some time playing live cash games in the 2000s. Did you have any strategies for coping with the tedium that comes with the slow pace of live poker? Since lockdown is easy in the UK, I've been playing more live cash, and I found that even though games are so soft and there's so much money to be made, I got bored very easily, which affects my game. I definitely hear you on that one. The slow pace of live games can definitely be a bit tedious. I think it's good to do like a sort of like three sentence reminder of why you're playing. Also, like really harsh stuff can work well, right? So if you feel like your concentration is slipping and you call a 3-bet with ace-5 offsuits, even though you're not supposed to, but hey, you know, you haven't played a hand in a long time, you know, just remind yourself that if you actually start playing bad, then you're really wasting your time. So now you're not only bored, you're also wasting your time being there. So that's something that really does work well, because you kind of remind yourself that you have to play well. Also, study some cash games. This is super underrated, even though if you play in a soft game, there will also always be a few other regulars in a soft game. And I can't emphasize enough how much money you can make off of regulars in soft games, because they want to play against the recreational players or the targets in the game, and they'll kind of they won't play competitive enough in the pots against other regulars. So if your game gets better from a fundamental point of view, you know, that might not make you as much versus recreational players, but it will definitely help you versus regulars. And the nice thing about that is it gives you a frame to work within. If you have really good set ranges down of stuff that you want to open and that you don't want to open, and you did this by researching it and studying, it's going to be really hard to deviate from it, because you can't trick yourself into saying like, oh, this time it's okay, or this time I'm going to call this, because in your head you know this is bad. And that will create a nice framework to work within, and that'll stop you more from playing hands because you're bored. I've known this from experience as well. So that's something that really helped me, is just like really cracking down on what's good and what's bad. And review it as well, you know. Don't just think like, oh, I want a big pot off a regular because I had 9-6 suited, and just like think of a bunch of reasons why you could have played that hand or called a 3-bet out of position in some spot where you shouldn't, you know. Really think about the strategy and just try to play as good as you can, and, you know, try to get a sense of pride from that as well. Good luck. Axel Olsen asks, hi Lex, I wonder how you balance playing poker with hanging out with your kid. For example, mid-session, you get the urge to hang out with your child. Does it affect your game, or you might want to rush things more in-game? I hope you understand the question. Thank you from Sweden. Sverige. All right, Axel. For me, it's really important to, alongside developing a lot of family time and developing a really strong bond with my son, it's also important to do something for myself. I feel like if people develop themselves, that'll give you some innate happiness as well, right? On top of that, you need to work. So I think for me, it's a little bit different, because poker is my job and streaming is my job. So as you might go to an office or work in a store or do whatever, that's not a moment where you go home and spend time with your family, right? That's work time. So for me, I look at it as work time. Honestly, it's hard, because I'm assuming that, you know, you have poker as a hobby because the way you ask your question. But if poker's a hobby for you and you feel like hanging out with your kids, go hang out with your kids. You know, just do whatever feels right at that moment. If you are a grinder, or if you are building up to become a grinder, then you just have to like think about the goals and just make sure that you set a time for it. Okay, if I really study hard this time, or if I play my best, then afterwards I can hang out with my child and feel good about that. But it seems to me like you're kind of lingering in between the two. So make sure that like family time is true family time. And then also, you know, when you spend time with your family, don't look on your phone that much or something, because that'll also make you feel better about playing poker, that you're truly devoted during family time. And then when it's poker time and you're really trying to build something and learn or grind, if you're a professional, then make sure that that's just grinding time, and your job happens to be at home, and that's just a hurdle that you need to cross, you know. Same as that, like, planning your own time can be very difficult, and that's something that poker players have to learn. I feel like you're kind of in that situation, possibly as well. So think about your goals. If you want to become a professional poker player, you need to have dedicated time to poker. Make sure you balance it well, and make sure you use that time the best. Good luck with that. I know it's a hard topic. So from T de Groei, Lex, Congratulations on teaming up with BBZ. I've turned into a spinning go grinder a couple months ago. I've been a winning player in sitting goes for the last couple years before this. I have trouble coping with the brutal variance that comes with playing this format since making the switch. I sometimes experience anticipatory anxiety before a session, which expresses itself in a raised heartbeat rate and shallow breathing. The switch has been very lucrative to me, but I've cancelled a few sessions because of the anticipatory anxiety. Do you have any experience with this or something alike, and do you perhaps have any tips in dealing with something like this? Cheers, Tim, a fellow Ajax friend from the lovely Amsterdam. Good man. All right, Tim, I completely understand anxiety. I used to have a lot of anxiety before I started grinding pot limit Omaha sessions because I was grinding to make Supernova Elite, which means that I had to play to make points, but I was in a downswing. I was super tired, as well as the games around the time that was most optimal for me to play were tough. Playing lower means that I had to grind more to make points because, it wasn't going as fast. And that period of time, I started having a lot of anxiety before playing. But the thing is, you should probably do a certain routine before you start playing that includes some mental health things. And I realize that a lot of these answers in this Q&A come back to mental health. And if you're a good poker player and you're a winning poker player, that's a skill that you honed, right? You can be a really good poker player, but you can be a poor poker professional, right? You can be good at the game, but you can be bad at how you put the game in your life. And to me, it sounds with you is that you need to work on the other part now. And how do you do that? Eat well, because it gives you energy, it gives you stability. Don't play hungry, shower before you play, work out, go walk outside. Walking outside is a very proven thing to really help walking in fresh air to avoid anxiety. If I were you, I would also try to do breathing exercises, because a breathing exercise forces you to breathe from your stomach, which keeps your diaphragma relaxed. And, if you put a lot of tension in your upper body and your breath starts to become shallow, you become more panicked and more panicked and more panicked. And it's kind of like a downward spiral that causes a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. So this is definitely, I know a lot of high stakes people who struggle with this before a big TV show or a big final table. This has done a lot for me as well, and I know for them it has done a lot. For instance, I hate public speaking, which is very, very weird because I'm a streamer. I really hate public speaking. It gives me a lot of anxiety, and the best thing for me to do is just, kind of ground myself, take a deep breath, go walk outside, just say it's fine, I know how to do this. When I actually see myself on camera, I never look nervous or anything, so it's fine. I know what to say because I talk about poker or something that I know what I want to say about, and it's kind of similar for you. You're a winning player. You have had a lot of success in poker. There's variance, just do a lot of exercises around that, read a book like Mental Game of Poker. That to you probably is at this point even more useful than studying 2 hours, right? Read a book like Mental Game of Poker. There's exercises in that where you just have to write this little thing down about why do I play, what's long term, why is it silly if I care about today's losses, and just maybe post a lifetime graph, and you'll see a downswing in there, and you'll see that the upswing comes after, so put it on your wall, and you'll see oh cool, yeah, at that moment I was worried, and this is me 2 years later, and at that moment I was worried, and this is me 1.5 years later, so if you're winning and you're doing well, remind yourself and make that something that can ground yourself. But good luck with that. It's a tough game, and you have to work on the mental game as well. Cool, good luck. Also, we got some bonus questions from BBZ. What did you do before you were a poker player, and do you think, if at all, that shaped your career going forward? That's an interesting question, because before I started playing poker, I didn't do shit, actually, but something I did a lot. I mean, I didn't do shit in terms of work, but something I did a lot was play video games. I was playing StarCraft at a relatively high level, and it's a 1v1 game where you constantly have to figure out the strategy of your opponent. It has a ladder, so you're kind of grinding up the mountain as if it's, you're grinding your bankroll, you're grinding the stakes. So it has a lot of similarities. It also taught me multitasking, so I was very keen on multi-tabling at the start, and I was pretty good at it because of StarCraft. So I think that StarCraft had a huge impact on me playing poker. The fact is actually that it's interesting that I didn't have anything in my life going on that I thought was interesting. I was in the first year of university, and I was doing criminology, and I really didn't like doing criminology, so finding something that I was passionate about was great. And maybe if I was doing something I was passionate about at that time, then poker wouldn't have caught my eye like that. So I think it played a big influence in what I was doing, both strategy-wise and also just like, you know, what point I was at in my life. Yeah, it's interesting actually now to think about it. It's like, what were we doing? Nothing. Oh, great. But yeah, that's the way it works for me. What is the best piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting out in poker and wants to become a professional player? This one is super important to me because people way too often compare poker to a way to make money. Poker is a strategic game that can result in you making money. The very first thing you need to do is understand that money doesn't come at the beginning. Money comes at the end. So knowing that, like, that's already a mistake a lot of people make, right? People deposit $300, but you don't know shit yet. Now you lose that $300. Now what? Are you going to deposit another 300? Like, how are you going to tell your partner that, or your family that, or how are you going to afford it, right? Another 300? And are you really going to lose 300, only deposit 50 and be happy to play 50-cent sitting goes? You see, so like depositing a lot at the start creates a lot of problems after, because people feel that it's very hard to step down. Like, stepping down is something that poker people have to learn, right? Poker players. So make sure that you never have to step down, meaning start with the lowest amount as possible. How do you do that? Play free rolls. Play money. There are play money games to find where you can actually execute strategy, or if you grind up in play money, there's people who take that very seriously and really are grinding those stakes. There's a lot that you can learn there, right? This way you make poker super low entry. Start playing poker because you love the game. If you cannot play a play money game and want to win it because it's only play money, then you probably shouldn't be playing poker anyway. So if you're somewhere in the middle there, make sure that you understand that, right? Money comes at the end. If you play poker for money, but you don't have the skills yet, you're not going to make that money and it's just going to create problems. So don't deposit a lot. Start playing poker and try to fall in love with the beauty of the game and try to get triggered by the strategy of it. The next thing is consume free content. There's 2 videos that Jordan made on quantitative strategies for poker. Those 2 videos are $20 combined. If you watch that video 7 times, you learn more than playing like 2 months of poker. I guarantee you. If you play 2 months of low stakes poker and you lose like $20, $30, $40, $50 a week, that one $10 video will teach you more than you will learn yourself in 2 months. There's tons of hand reviews. There's streams that you can watch, right? If you watch my stream and you ask me, hey Lex, I always open a hand like A7 offsuit. Why don't you do that? I see you don't do that. Then you're gonna get an answer. Boom. You instantly cut up in the learning curve, right? So I think that people are being too lazy about consuming free content. They're too money driven and they sit down and think they're way too good at the start. Listen, if you're thinking about depositing and you haven't done yet, I don't give a shit how good you think you and your friends are, but you're shit at the game. The earlier you realize that, the better. And that's some tough love, but that's what you need and that's what people need, right? So really try to start slow, and then you're also going to be more open in your mind to kind of be receptive to the strategy, right? If you're down $40 and somebody's telling you, well, you really can't raise that hand, you think, shut the fuck up, I'm down, don't tell me what to do, and I knew it, or this fucking guy is just lucky. That's when you start saying stuff like that, and that's a big no-no. So yeah, with poker having a lot of long hours and longer sessions, how do you balance your home and social life with such a time-consuming career? I think I'm actually at a really sweet spot in dividing my time between work and career, because I feel like I actually know that I spend a lot of time with my family. I see my son all the time, right? I spend time with him, spend alone time with him. Me and my fiance go out on dates together still, when the grandparents of Navi are watching the baby. So I see my friends. I have, like, you know, lunches. I do go dinner with my friends, have a beer, watch a football game, all that stuff. And still I work 60 hours a week. I think it's very important, if you want to achieve balance, is understand that you have to make sacrifices to everything that's important. So what I mean by that is, if you love playing poker and playing poker as a career, or you love stock trading, or you love Bitcoin, crypto, day trading, whatever the fuck, you know, if you love something and you do it a lot, it's really important to realize that you're making sacrifices to do it, right? there's going to be that time that your friends are going to a bar and they're going to have a drink and you're not there because you really need to work that day because you're trying to achieve something. And the more hours you put into it, the more you're going to achieve. It's really important to realize that that goes both ways. After that weekend, when you have a few hours off, you should call your friends and try to get together, or say like, hey, you're home, want to drink a cup of coffee, that sort of stuff. Because then they know, even though he wasn't there on Friday, he's making an effort to do it now. This is important because not only is it healthy for your relationships with your friends, this is also very healthy for having a sense of balance and having a nice distraction that you can put on the opposite side of working so much. The same goes with your family. If something goes later and you're like, shit, I'm really sorry, I have to finish this, right? I have that too. Let's say I'm deep in a tournament, me and my fiance, we're gonna have dinner together tonight, and we're like, oh, we have a lot to catch up on or something, and a poker tournament runs deep, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I have to eat behind a computer. That's fine. That happens, right? It's part of my job. She knows that. But what if it happens the next day, and then 3 days later as well? And then the fourth day, where I'm super tired, I say like, oh, I'm tired, let's just watch some movie and go to bed or something. Or on the fifth day, I want to study. Or on the sixth day, I'm going to go with friends. You see where the problem is? Like, there has to be a point in time where you say to your partner, hey, I'm taking the night off. Or I'm taking the afternoon off because I busted all my tournaments. Let's go do something fun. So it's like an ebb and flow with all your relationships and your time in things. And you need to make sure that you have that in the right balance and that people know that as well. And that's why Mirta is so supportive of my career as well, because she knows that I still value our personal life above anything. And your partner or your friends might know that, but you need to show it to them as well. You know, you might think that you show it, or like, oh, we go way back, you know, we've been friends for a long time. But in their head, they think like, Lex never picks up his fucking phone. You know, this happened to me as well. Like when I was in my 20s, I would play poker 15 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. And if my friends would call me, I would very often not pick up the phone because I was either sleeping at a weird hour or I was playing. And then they had like some sort of intervention where 3 friends are like, okay, you're just fucking this up, right? You need to pick up your fucking phone. And I was like, well, I'm busy. You know, you guys are in school, have a lot of off time and you're drinking a lot and stuff. It's like, it's not about us having time. You need to make time for us as well if you want to invest in a relationship. This is not us like trying to like, oh, Lex, please be friends with us, right? This is like, we have a friendship. We have to put something into that. And so if you have trouble balancing that, don't just think like, what would I want to do at this moment, but which people and what situations are important to you. And then all of a sudden it becomes much easier to cut a certain session short if there's a little action anyway, or take a day off sometimes, you know. Don't cancel every birthday because you're like, I need to work. Like working hard is good, but think about the long process, you know, like what do you work for? And where do you want to be in 15 years or 10 years, you know? And if you look at that, then all of a sudden rest is important, making memories, having a good time with friends and family. Also, it's going to alleviate a lot of stress, especially when you're in a relationship, because your relationship will be more supportive of what you're doing. And I can tell you that that's vital. So, next question. Who's the one poker pro you like playing against the most? And can you give one experience you have with that player? I really like playing with chatty people. I like people that chat a lot, not like an obscene amount, right? But people that make a lot of conversation, that are willing to talk, that don't always just think about like what's the best for me, or you know, what gives me the most equity in this situation if I just be quiet and not say who I am or something. You know, I like playing with people that like to chat, have a good time while they're playing poker. A lot of those guys are actually the old school guys. You know, there's some new school guys as well that like to chat a lot. I think if you look at a guy like Tom Dwan, he's insane at it. Plays insane poker, plays really well. But if 4 business people at the table want to have a glass of wine, he'll drink a glass of wine and chat, you know, and have fun and tell stories and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to mention one specific poker pro, I think, because they all kind of fit the same profile. But that's my favorite type of person. I hate playing with people that are babies when they're winning and losing, like Helmut or something. I really don't like playing with people like that, that make it about them, as opposed to like, hey, we're all here. I know we're playing a competitive game, but we can have a good time doing it, you know. And you don't have to drink and all that stuff, but it's more about people that know that it's like cool to have a good time together. So yeah, a simple one. What is the thing you love most about poker? I love the versatility about poker. I love the brutalness that it has. I love that it's kind of like you can be like the lone samurai grinding up the mountain, like defeating. It's like the Bruce Lee movie, right? You're defeating boss after boss. That's what it feels like. You can really put in all the work you want yourself and become as good as you want to be. And of course, there's going to be people who are better at executing and remembering strategies, but I feel like everybody can get to a certain level, and a lot of people can get to a really high level. And it's all about how much work you put in, how efficient you are. And that's really cool to me, that it's like something that you can start from the bottom. I started with play money, and I started playing 1-2 cent cash games, you know? And in like 4 years, I grinded myself up to play 40k buy-in cash games. And that felt really cool that I walked that whole path myself, by myself, put in all the work by myself. No one helps you. You know, you have people that have a good influence on you or help you with strategy or study groups or whatever, but you do it yourself, and that's the beauty of it. And, you know, I think it's a brutal grind. I think being a professional poker player is very hard, but it's also super rewarding in a sense where you can make a lot of money, but it also gives you a lot of freedom. And something that's huge to me is you're able to schedule your own time. And time is the most valuable thing. It really is. And being able to schedule your own time and have freedom that way is just something that feels super liberating. And it's just an awesome game. It has so much depth. If you look at like where we're at right now compared to just 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when everybody was saying like, oh, poker is so solved or whatever, and now people are playing vastly different than they were a few years ago. And that's just so cool to me. You know, that's constant like swirl of meta strategies and people coming up with cool new shit and figuring out like cool new stuff to do. And it's just such a cool game. That's such an amazing game, really. It has so much depth. Just the fact that there's, you know, that a deck of cards can be shuffled in a billion different ways is just insane, right? So the order of cards, there is a chance that the order of a deck of cards has never been the same, right? If you look at the mathematical prospect there. So, I mean, it's just an amazing game, really. All right, guys, I hope you had some fun. I'm definitely sure that we're going to do this again. And it's good to get to know you guys a little bit better. I'm also in the BBZ Discord, so join there. You can ask all the pros any questions. You can also watch my stream. I'm always online. You can look for me, Lex Veldhuis, and you'll get all the links everywhere. And I hope to see you guys there if you have more questions. All right, peace out. Bye.